It was when I started at Saddleback Church. It was the year that the country of Rwanda said, we want to be the first peace nation. And Pastor Rick gave this powerful sermon that was so motivating and that I felt I could do it. I'm just a inner city kid. I grew up in New York City, in the projects. And here I am sitting in an audience hearing about the peace plan and looking over at Greg and saying, you know what, dear? I think God is calling me to Rwanda. Greg looked up that way and then that way and said, funny, I don't hear anything.
Well, it was all news to me. So when she came home and she said, God told me to go to Rwanda, I literally didn't hear God. I was listening, but I didn't hear anything from God. And so she just poured herself into the mission part of it.
So I was in a small group at the time, and the small group of ladies wanted to go to Rwanda as well. So we talked about it as a small group, had someone that had gone to Rwanda previously to give us pep talk that we old ladies could do this because we were all 50 plus. And one day one small group evening, I was out sick. And when I came back to the next small group, voila, they elected me to be a leader. So, word to the wise. If your small group is making a decision to go to Rwanda, don't be absent. You just might end up being the leader of that small group.
Well, when she came home and told me that she wanted to go, the first thing that I thought of was, well, how would you do this? Where's the money coming from? How would you get there? And then Betty proceeded in telling me how mission works and how it's a faith walk to get there.
And so that faith walk started with me. It started with my attitude. It started with me accepting that I was going to lead this team. And it started on with a journey of me and God. It was at that time of accepting leadership that God started waking me up at 3 a.m. every morning, giving me training and instructions, building my faith, building the fact that I was not that little girl, inner city girl, that God actually wanted me. He was honoring me to shepherd people to Rwanda. Since then, it's been a passion to have others walk that faith walk. So this very first trip to Rwanda made a difference in all of the girls that I had taken, all 5 of us. So many have moved into leadership roles in volunteering and counseling, in supporting food pantries, in supporting other trips to go back to Rwanda. And it's just exciting to see that through that leadership and through God, what He can do with just ordinary old ladies on mission for God.
I still hadn't audibly heard God. I was listening or thought I was listening, but what happened was watching Betty come after each trip, it was contagious. Each time she came home, she was different. Each time she came home, she had a little bit more joy. And I started to sense that. And I wanted a part of that, and I wanted to share that with her. Now, still, I had a long way to go. I didn't want to do mission. I was doing local mission, and that was good enough for me. And then my wife had just talked about the children, the people, the cultures. So then I just became enamored with wanting to go on mission, and that's what happened. And I started to get involved, and she started dragging me, kicking and screaming to the meetings, and I started to enjoy it, and then I started to get excited about it, and mission became a part of me in that way.
I have never heard Him more clearly than when I'm on a mission field. and God's presence is so tangible, you can touch it. And because of that, I'm so passionate about taking others to experience that same relationship with God. And so that passion is sometimes a little contagious. Sometimes I attack people and say, oh, you should go. Sometimes people will ask me, how do you hear God's voice? How did you hear him? How do you know it's God? I say, because I've been on mission and I've needed to hear him, and he has made his voice known to me. Jesus says, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men unto himself. And he does that. And there are so many leaders now for peace in human trafficking and in other areas that were on my teams that are doing great and wonderful works for the Lord. And what they're doing is drawing people to Christ. And it just is so rewarding.